Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live again. Happy Tuesday. This is our CSS critique show, but we'll also take some live questions. I'll give some live answers. But first, I want to make this a part two of what we talked about yesterday with the assessments. Trust your trust your training, but also you should trust but verify by assessing yourself regularly to see if you are seeing gains, whether that is lifting weight gains, strength gains, getting faster, running and swimming, doing more calisthenics, whatever that is. We all have different goals throughout this process. And I created something a while back ago after reading a study that Buds did on uh, on success through Hell Week if you had a certain number of pull-ups and push-ups and uh, run times and swim times and other activity, deadlifts and weighted pull-ups and body weight bench. There's a whole list of exercise that were tested for probably a dozen, maybe 20 different classes. So they had a broad range of candidates and they were able to compile all this evidence of scores. And it showed people with really high scores not making it through Hell Week. It showed people with average scores getting through Hell Week. It had people with high scores getting through Hell Week. So it's kind of all over the place. So I kind of understand why they took it down because it was kind of difficult to explain. But let me try to add a little to it real quick, and then we'll go into the live questions. With fitness, there is a certain level of fitness that what I call is good enough. And if you were to rate that on a spectrum, it would be in the advanced range, but it's not world class range. So what I mean by that is, yes, to be a spec ops candidate that is successful, you don't need to be a world class power lifter, endurance runner, track star, Olympic swimmer. Okay. You don't need to be that good. So, what is good enough? This little sweet spot right here, a little bit to the right of center of that spectrum, that is in the advanced category, but it's nothing where you need to go crazy and try to hit world class numbers. Chances are you're not going to do it anyway. Um, for instance, I had a guy that was trying to do a 500 and another guy trying to do a 600-pound deadlift. I'm like, why? Why do you need to do that? You're going to be under a boat with a guy who can barely do a 300-pound deadlift, and he's going to do just fine, right? There's a certain level of strength that is needed, but debatable, not necessary. And there is a certain level of strength that is too much that can be um, detrimental to your training and your success. There's a certain level of cardio that may be too much, whether that is volume of mileage, volume of swimming, that is really just a waste of time because you're already good enough at running and swimming. You might want to focus on a different weakness because running and swimming isn't one of them, especially if you've come from a running, swimming background. So the goal of the tactical athlete, especially the spec ops level tactical athlete, is you just have to be really good at everything and not great at any one thing with a corresponding weakness that is opposite of that on something. You want to avoid as many weaknesses as you can, and you don't need to really worry about being great at anything. Just be really good at everything. So let me share this with you because this is a chart that I made up, and these are my opinions. Um, In fact, let me share. It should be, let me see if I can go full screen with this. Make sure you guys can see it. All right, so this is my chart here, right? So you can, in fact, in the description of this video, you can find a link to this chart in the article that I wrote yesterday. And this is just part 2 of me writing about trusting the process, trust your training, but verify and assess. And if you can reach these numbers, you are in the good enough range. And you may look at these and like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. Well, let's go through them real quick. Standard PST, that's number 1. You know, I personally like to have people in the 820 range of 500s. 80 to 100 push-ups, 80 to 100 sit-ups, 20 plus pull-ups, 9-minute run on the 1.5 miles. Yeah, can you be faster than that? Do you need all these numbers? Can you be in the low 80s? Sure. Can you be just under 20? Yes. But shoot for these numbers and you will be in good stead with the top 20% of your class, because in a program where you are uh, really the top 20% graduate, if you have an 80% attrition rate, you have 20% graduate, you want to try to be in that 20 percentile range in just about everything. Now, you can have something that might be bottom 50 and something, but you're still passing. But most of your stuff, you want to be in the top 20 because it matters. Navy human performance test. These are tests that are done within Spec Ops, Spec War in the Navy. The human performance test, you can look it up. There's some great charts on it. Weighted pull up, 25 pounds, double digits. If you can get double digits with that, that's solid. Body weight bench press, double digits. Seen guys get over 20, seen guys get over 30. Some of the lighter guys that are just built for bench press. Deadlift, 1.5 to 2 point times your body weight, 1 to 5 reps. That is plenty. I'm a 200-pound guy. I should be able to do somewhere between 300 and 400. Now, if I can't get 400, don't sweat it. That's not necessarily the issue. If you go somewhere between 3 and 350, that's great. That's really all you need. You don't need to be 2-3 times your body weight. In some cases, I've seen guys do almost 4 times their body weight and wonder why they can't run. 300-yard shuttle run. This is a big one. This is a good one for power. 60 seconds or less. Not breaking any records, but that's a good standard. Standing lunge up, 90 inches or more. That's a tough one depending on how tall you are. I usually say if you can jump a foot more than you are tall, that's really good. So somewhere in that range. I can't remember why I put 90 seconds in there. I think most of the guys that made it that year were all jumping around that. And some guys did more. Between 7 and 8 feet is not horrible, right? 5 seconds or less on the pro agility. That's a 5-10-5 agility ladder. And these other events, these are more like Bud specific events. 800-meter swim without fins. That's in the HPT, human performance test. Basically keep it at a yard per second, meter per second. That's where you're going to be. 1,000-meter swim, same thing, meter per second, 1640, 17 minutes. Because here's what you want to do with this, because you're going to be doing a 4,000-yard swim at Buds every week. So you want to take this 1,000 and basically multiply that by 4 and try to learn to maintain that pace, and you'll be in the top 10% of the swim pairs, I promise you. And the way it works is this. So let's say 17 minutes, 1,000. And then you have 34 minutes, 2,000. And double that, you have, 68-minute, 4,000. Now, this is going to be in open water, so give or take some currents and tides and not swimming straight. And you got yourself, still, in the 70 range, um, 70-minute range, and the minimum standard is 85 minutes. So it gives you 15 minutes to get lost in the water if you have a bad day, right? 4 mile timed run. This is another weekly event, 27-28 minutes. That's a good 7-minute pace. 2 mile swim, I think we just mentioned that, 65 to 70 minutes is a good yard per second pace. Squats, just this isn't something that buds, but this is just one of those other events that aren't tested, but it's a good, what should I squat before going to these schools? And I usually say 1.5 body weight, 5 reps. So 200-pound guy, 300-pound squat, not breaking any records with it, but it gives me a foundation of strength that is usable and can be very helpful under load bearing situations, um, versus maybe even someone who's doing 500 or 600-pound squats. There's a certain limit to how much strength you really need that's going to be useful to making you good at running and good at rucking and good at running with boats and you know running with logs. These things require a certain level of stamina, muscle stamina, and endurance combination. And sometimes when you go really high on those high level lifts, it can be detrimental to your ability to stay with the pack in that situation. Lunges, this is a great one. I think if you really want to focus on a leg exercise, get good at lunges. Chest carry lunges, 40-pound sandbag. One, you're going to really work your lower back as well as your biceps, just holding that thing up there. And you do it for 400 meters. Then the big key is assess yourself. Like, how sore am I after doing that? Now, I don't recommend jumping right into doing a 400-meter lunge if you're not one used to doing lunges and you haven't really progressed for like sets of hundreds, sets of 200s. Give yourself a month to build up to 400-meter lunges. Next thing you know, 400 meters isn't that hard and you're adding a little bit more distance. But I don't think you need to go too much more than that because that's significant. Maybe 500 or 600-meter lunges total. We have this big field at the Naval Academy where we go from one end to the other, and it's 600 meters long. So it's a good challenge. We do it with logs, chest carry lunges. We do it with sandbags, chest carry lunges. We do it with fireman carries. We do it with bear crawls. All of those are great 600-meter events to really get good at doing. So there you go. That's my recommendation of assessing. Um, and we can start taking some questions. And I'm going to queue up some videos here for the first and few CSS critiques. Let me just make sure I got my volume down so it doesn't interfere with me. Let's see what we got here. So we got a couple of different swim videos, but let's take some questions first and we'll get right into it. Morning, Stu. Just finished my third PST. Scores were 725. Damn. Nice. 91, 80, 21, 10, 20. Been trying to bring my run down. Got 10 months till I ship. You got plenty of time to do that. I think it is good to get that thing down to like the 9-minute zone. Something I would probably do is maybe swim a little less and put more time in running, or maybe bike run combos just to work the legs without all the impact, depending on where you are on your total mileage per week. Calisthenics are solid, maintain those. Swim solid, maintain those. In fact, you may even want to pull back on a swim next PST, see if you can do it like 750, 8 minutes or just under 8. See if that strategically gets you a little bit better on the run. Just something to consider. See if that can help you have a little bit more juice to crank it on the run on the back half. Another thing is fueling too. Make sure you're well fueled. Um, you got sipping something with some glycogen or some sugar in it, so you can not burn out all your glycogen on the PT and the swim, and that will get it done. Let's see. Lunges and duck walks from Chow is a deadly combination. Yes. Oh yeah. In fact, here's why I like to get people to be able to do a 4 mile timed run in 27, 28 minutes easily, because in first phase that minimum standard is 32 minutes. And I promise you, you do a day of duck walks, jumping lunges, chest carry, lunges with the log, and then the next day or the day after that, you go do a 4 mile timed run. You'll be glad that you can do a 28-minute 4 mile timed run without it being a gut check, because those legs are going to be a little sore. Going to have to dig down a little bit, bring your A game, and rely on your training to be able to get you through that in under 32 minutes, because it will slow you down a little bit. You need a little bit of gravy. If you're always flirting with 31, 32s, a day after a big set of lunges like that could be a failure. Next thing you know, you fail a couple of times. It's on your record, and you don't graduate, or you don't pass, or if you get injured and they see you failed stuff, they're not going to roll you because you haven't been a good student. All these things come into play in those type of situations. Hey Stu, my long jump is 7.8 to 8 feet, depending on the day. My 300 is sub 60, but I struggle a little with acceleration before picking up speed. What should I do to improve? Um, well, here's the deal. That's not bad. Not bad at all. In fact, you're in the zone for what I just mentioned. Um, when you're doing a lot of endurance running, you're going to lose a little bit of your explosive speed. That's why I like to throw these things in there and just use it as kind of like uh, a maintenance day to maintain some speed. But on leg days, before you really start doing um, a lot of legs, and then you get warmed up, mix in a few sprints, mix in a few shuttle runs, explosive 20-meter runs, right? Just work on your starts. Um, but make sure you're warmed up, make sure you progress kind of going into it. But I'll be honest with you, unless your future is being tested with a lot of sprints, I probably wouldn't do it too much, because a chance of a hamstring or Achilles pull is very possible. Even with the best mobility and flexibility training, all it takes is, something that wasn't quite warmed up very well. You throw in a most explosive run of the day, next thing you know, you're limping back home, not able to run for several weeks. So consider that in your training. Dan Bro, I'm over here struggling, and everybody at my PSTs are getting those scores. I got another one Friday to pass to get my contract. Well, tragic 300. That is why I tell everybody, my first rule is don't even talk to a recruiter until you are crushing the PST. Otherwise, you're going to be in that situation and you might not get a contract. Or you might pass and just be good at all the PST stuff. And you haven't even considered 4 mile timed runs and 2 mile swims and loading under a boat and log. You're behind the 8 ball. But I've seen people do it. So I hope it works out for you. In fact, if it does, email me and tell me you made it, and I'll be very proud of you. Prove me wrong. Also, do you believe the HPT is a better indicator of overall scores success at BUDS than the PST? What would you consider truly elite HPT scores? Um, I mean, not much better than what I just showed you. Um, I mean, yeah, I've seen crazy killer scores on some of those events. Um, but let me see. Let me tell you what I've seen in the past for HPT. Deadlift, I think it's a 5 rep, might be a 3 rep max, 400, 500 pounds. Body weight bench press, I've seen guys do um, over 40. Weighted pull ups, I've seen guys get over 30. Standing long jump, seen a lot of guys, a couple guys get close to 100, 96, to 100. Um, Pro agility test, under 5 seconds. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, that's like a 40-yard sprint. 800 meter. Seen some guys do that in like 9.5, 10 minutes. I think it was. I mean, that's really fast, and it's freestyle. So yeah, I think at least like a 10:30, 800, which is ridiculous because some people can't do 10:30, 500s. So yeah, those are really good scores. Is it a better indicator? I think. Hmm. I think so. To be honest with you, I think it's just more. Um, it's more of a complete test. If you think about what the PST is, it's a run, swim, calisthenics. I mean, basically, you're a triathlete who does pull-ups, right? Whereas the other one requires you to be in a weight room, building some durability with strength and power, a little bit more of a foundation. So you're a little bit more of a hybrid athlete versus just a endurance and muscle stamina athlete. So I'm a bigger fan of these newer fitness tests that incorporate weightlifting tests, like the Army combat fitness test, Marine Corps fitness test, combat fitness test to a degree, has some weighted events and fireman carry events and things like that are a lot of speed and agility mixed in there. Ammo can movements, those are pretty important jobs, being able to do that. So I'm a much bigger fan of these newer tests. But I wouldn't worry about being truly elite on HPTs or PSTs for that matter, because after the first day of training, no one cares what your PST scores were. It's gonna shift immediately to 4 mile timed runs, 2 mile swims, obstacle courses. Are you handling being a good boat crew member under your boat and log? That's all that matters in first phase. And then you got to get through Hell Week. And then after that, you're learning cool stuff. You're diving, you're shooting, you're land naving, your underwater navigation. You start learning more tactical stuff, but you still have to do your 2 mile swims and your 4 mile timed runs and your obstacle courses and your PTs and your beach runs and your rucks, right? Because those start getting involved too. So um, it never really stops. Trying to learn the CSS, it seems you and Jeff Nichols recommend different techniques. Can you quickly elaborate on the difference in efficiencies and inefficiencies? Thanks as always. Yeah, Jeff Nichols doesn't teach it right. I mean, it may be a viable way to do it, but anytime your arm comes out of the water, it is no longer an underwater recovery stroke. You have to recover under the water. That's the number one rule on the CSS is you have to, for the PST, you have to take that test and your arm cannot come out of the water when it recovers. It's an underwater recovery stroke. That's why breaststroke, side stroke, and the CSS are viable options for that. You cannot do like a freestyle arm recovery. Disqualifying. So I also teach it with a lot more glide in it versus effort, right? Because you're also preparing. Yeah, you might be able to get a 50 or 100 done real fast using that method, but the chances of you being able to maintain that for 500 and um, be have the energy to do well on the rest of the PST is unlikely. So That's the way it is. How do you have your guys train for 505 or 510-5 agility tests? We actually just do them. That's all. We do obstacle courses, but we also do some back and forth agility. Sometimes we'll add a wall to both sides, like you have to jump a wall, run back, jump a wall, run back, jump a wall. So we change it up a little bit, but we just actually just do them, right? And that's how we train for them. So, can you still work out it you have a heat rash? If you have a heat rash. I guess you could, but I'd be careful. Because it's not going to get better if you're sweating and getting hot. So just make sure when you're not working out, you clean it, you dry it off, and um, you get some air on it and let it continue to dry. So, and also you got to ask yourself, why are you getting a heat rash? Is it something you're allergic to? Is it just you need to maybe train in cooler air? I don't know. Yeah, they keep telling me to look at other options, but it's my dream career. I'm not here to tell a sob story. A lot of people have it worse, but I've been homeless in and out since 16, and so I train harder. Hey, you know what? Here's the deal. I have a guy that whose situation is not ideal, like yours. And um, sometimes just joining the Navy and getting into the Navy or Army or whatever military branch you want to do and just starting the process with that, so now you go to work, you get your food, you got a place to live, you got all these basics taken care of. You got a gym nearby because you're on base. All of these things are answered for you. So you don't necessarily have to worry about how am I going to pay for this pool and gym membership and I got to work all day, I got to train, I sleep in my car, all those things. We've had guys do that. And sometimes just getting out of here and getting your situation under control to where you can actually better train is probably a more logical idea than trying to keep grinding it out and getting nowhere because you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well. um so I I think you will find, regardless of if you go to buds or not, um, your overall situation is going to improve so much that your training will therefore improve and you can get to buds at a later date. Um, so, but who knows? You might be able to make it through buds as well. So consider that. Quick question, boss. Is SEAL prep adequate for EOD candidates? Obviously, team guys are specifically more fit on average, but is there anything I would be missing if I go to bus? No, all of our EOD guys do the same workouts as our SEAL guys, and they crush it. So, absolutely. All right, let me share a video because I got one up. Let's see what this one is. I can't even remember what this one is, but let's see what it looks like. All right, kick off the wall, double arm pull, transitions, top arm, bottom arm, kick. A little bit flutter kicky. Not horrible though. High elbows, but that's all right. It's still coming up underwater. Um, you don't necessarily need uh, that high elbow to come up like that, but it's an easy fix. Overall, this is really good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. One Mississippi, two. Could hold the glide a little longer. Let's see that again. Good, really good streamline. Double arm pull, transition, no loss of momentum. Kick, glide. Yeah, you can hold the glide a little longer. And look at that top arm. That top arm could probably be a little bit better freestyle catch, right? So grab a little more water with that top arm. Looks really good though. I mean, this is a 40-second 40. So this is a 20-yard section of the pool going back and forth here. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. See how you're pulling about a second and a half too early? Try to hold that glide a little longer. And let's see what that looks like. You make this a little bigger. We're going to do another one here real quick and see what this looks like. All right, here we go.
Breathe with the
You
bottom.
see that? Full
Try to hold the
page.
glide a little
We back
longer.
it up a little notch.
All right,
Right,
good.
kick off the wall.
Kick off
Really
the
good
wall.
streamline.
That's
Nice.
Good. Go
All right, awkward
on
transition. See
Go
how that
awkward on-
transition
That's
kind of
good.
goes from all
That's
over the
good.
place? What
Off
you
the
ought to
wall.
do there
That's
is
good.
when you're
Kick
in
off the
this
wall.
position
That's
here.
good. Go awkward on the
Pause it,
transition. Good.
When you're in this position,
Go awkward.
when you're
That's
in this
good.
position here. All right. So when you're all the way down, there's only one thing to do, and that is to kick and recover and keep those arms tight to your body so you're not putting on the brakes out here. You can see he's kind of loose with his recovery, and notice what happens to his glide off the wall. It just stops. So when he's here, he should be kicking and recovering,
That's good.
and he
Go
gets
awkward on
the
the
kick. That's why that was a
transition.
little awkward. So
Head's
top
still
arm,
coming out of
bottom
the
arm,
water.
kick.
Keep your head
Top arm,
down.
bottom arm, kick. Let's see
Turn
how
with
he's
the
holding the
top.
glide
Breathe
there.
with the bottom.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Pull.
Breathe.
Not bad. Kind of pops up a little
Breathe
bit
with
with
the
that
bottom.
head. I wish he
Try
would
to
just
hold the
turn
glide a
it
little
to
longer.
breathe like he's doing
Hey, try to hold the
freestyle.
glide. Hold that glide just
Go
another
ahead.
second or two
Just
before you
yelling at
pull
him
the next
for
stroke.
hold the glide longer, keep your head down, things like that.
You want to be efficient with
Little bit
this,
better on the
especially
transition
without
there.
fins.
Top arm, bottom
See
arm,
how your
kick.
head's
Now
still
you can see
coming
how
up?
his head
I can
pops
see
up.
that bottom here.
He just needs to turn to breathe and
Yeah, it's better.
keep that head down. Just relax it. Just relax it on your arm right here. Just turn to
Still
breathe
has
with
a
your whole
tendency to want
torso
to come up out of
versus
the water like that.
kinking it
You
up
just
to
relax
breathe
your
like
neck.
that. Because that gets old real quick. Whenever you're swimming like this the whole time, right? Just relax your neck and just turn to breathe. There you go. Do you still recommend 12 weeks to buds to prepare for buds, or are there other programs that you prefer this many years on? I will say that one is a good one. It really works. Um, I've had a lot of people go back to that one maybe after doing this phase one, because this phase one I think is really more geared towards the PST, where a lot of people need at the very beginning to just crush that thing, and then the um, Complete Guide Navy SEAL Fitness, or phase 2 and 3 of this series, is really focused on maintaining that PST, but then crushing all the other events. Like, you're going to do run, swim, runs in that one, big swims with fins. You got a lot of grinder PT stuff, lots of reps in there. So there's some skills in that 12 weeks to buds book that I really do like people to experience, with kind of long, monotonous, high volume repetition workouts. The only thing is you got to be ready for them. So a lot of people aren't quite ready for them, and they get some elbow tendonitis, shoulder tendonitis. So um, anyway, sometimes that is a better precursor to the 12 weeks to buds, kind of build up to it. And that I would put the 12 weeks to buds on the same level of training as phase 2 and phase 3 Navy SEAL workout, but the phase 2 and phase 3 is the most recent version of that workout that I have evolved with my training recommendations. So there you go. Try to say that's true. I've been naive to the fact of just joining instead of bettering my current situation. beforehand, but I have until September 27th. So we'll see. I appreciate all the advice. Yeah, man, just get after it. Send me a video and we'll fix that swim of yours if that's something you need to fix. Can't remember if that was your PSD. No, it was a different guy's. Um, yeah. All right, so let's share another one, shall we? Um, can't remember if I shared this one or not. I don't think I did. Okay, we're gonna go share this one. See what you guys think of this. All right, you guys ready? Let's see what this looks like. So far, decent looking. One hand on top of the other, arms fairly straight by the ears, head down, good streamline,
Good.
good double
Really
arm
good
pull. I like that.
transitions. This
Look at that.
looks
That's
really good.
nice. Now it kind of
So,
came up and
top
roached a
arm,
little
bottom
bit, but
arm,
that's
kick,
not bad. You
hold the
know what? I
glide.
think I
There you
showed
go.
this one the other day
We got to
because
work on
that
that
arm
top arm
reminds me of
because that top arm should not be
jacked up
splashing.
swim.
That's why I
So
like
what
to
I
roll
had
over
this guy
a
do is
little bit on
because
my
he's skimming
belly
the surface
during
so
the
much, is I
glide,
just had him
just
rotate
so I
over
can
a
get
little
that
bit
top arm a little
so he could
deeper in the
actually
water.
get deeper with that top
But this is
arm,
good.
and that
And
made
it's
a
a yard
huge
per second.
difference
That's where you want to be.
in his
And if you can
training.
get
I'm gonna stop sharing this because I showed one that I didn't mean to show. Huh. Oh, here it is. Here's one I wanted to show because every Wednesday we do something called the drown proofing test, and it's a fun little challenge. Um, and we do it after Mobility Day. So we spend about um, probably about an hour doing non-impact cardio, stretching, foam rolling, massage tooling, doing all these stretches to help us get a little bit better treading position. And then we go test it out in the pool right after it for the next hour. And we do the whole drown proofing test, which is bobbing, floating, front flip, back flip, travel. Um, and you're simulated with your hands tied behind your back and your feet together. Now, I can't tie people in this pool because they would just flip out and probably get sued or whatever. But anyway, so we just simulate it. But this is a good way to practice it and it's safe. And what we're doing here is just practicing traveling with your hands
there
behind
you
your back
go,
and your
get
feet
around.
together. And if you don't think learning to do a dolphin kick is important, just watch this because you have to learn how to do a dolphin kick if you want to travel with your hands behind your back and your feet together. So now you can see this. He's got a pretty good dolphin kick, and he's got a decent method of doing this. He just does a kick, comes up to breathe, gets a little glide in there.
There you
Now,
go.
you also one of the goals is don't touch the bottom when you do this turnaround in the shallow area. One thing I personally like to do is do like a 1, 2, 3 kick. That's my dog. Must be dreaming. Um, all right, so 1, 2, 3. All right, so a couple of different ways. You can do a one breath, one kick, hold up to breathe. That gets a little monotonous. So I personally like to go 1, 2, 3, come up to breathe on that third one. 1, 2, 3, come up to breathe on that third one, and it works really well. So this is just the learn how to do a dolphin kick and try to stay horizontal because if you don't stay
There you
horizontal,
go,
you're
get
going to be
around.
swimming diagonally or almost vertically and going nowhere. So a lot of people here that need to learn how to do it, but most of them are catching on pretty quickly. We just practice it every Wednesday. It's part of our Wednesday training day. So, all right, next thing, Stu. Right now I'm 8:55 swim, 85, 85, 70 to 20 pull, 9:30 run. I like that. Those are great scores. I'm curious if you think that's manageable if I need to leave by the end of the year because of other life circumstances. Yes, those will get you a contract. So if you want to get a contract and you need to leave soon, go talk to your recruiter, get through MEPS, and submit those scores whenever you take the PST officially. with the recruiters, and you'll get a contract with those scores. Guarantee it. Then here's the key: is you're going to go through boot camp probably by the end of the year, or early of next year, and you're going to have to try to work really hard to maintain those scores during boot camp, because you do get deconditioned when at boot camp, because you're not running as much, you're not swimming hardly at all. Um, if doing anything, you're doing some survival swims, um, and you're not PTing as much. So you have to do extra credit, either 30 minutes before you wake up, 30 minutes before you go to bed. Do something like every time you go to the bathroom, drop down and do some squats and lunges. Might find a place to do pull ups on um, bathroom stalls, laundry racks, uh, and just when you pass them, do them. Get laundry detail, you'll have a pull up bar right there. So you got to really work hard to stay in shape. My recommendation is to like just try to accumulate as many push ups and pull ups as you can in a day on one day, and do squats, lunges, wall sits on the days in between. That way, you work a upper body, lower body split, and get yourself all the way through boot camp like that. And you'll be surprised. Maintain your sit ups and your flutter kicks and all that. You'll be pretty solid at the end of it, and may not even lose a lot of your conditioning. I got some guys that are um, finishing boot camp this week, and I'm curious how they did. I got a couple of letters and phone calls saying all the stuff that they were doing, and they said they feel pretty good. They never got sick, which was a big plus, and they are now on that, feeling pretty good on the PST that they'll take shortly um, after they finish boot camp. All right. So next question is: I can only get in the 50s when I do max push-ups, but I can do push-ups all day and not get tired. I just can't do a lot in one set. Yeah, well, that happens. Um, that happens to a lot of us. You do sets of 10 all day. That's pretty easy. It's when you start doing sets of 25 and 30, 40 gets a little harder. So my advice to you is to do bigger sets and don't do daily push-ups, right? Do push-ups every other day so you actually push a great number of push-ups one day, but you rest the next day. Don't do any pushing. Do leg day that day, and you do pushing again the third day. So I think where a lot of people fail to understand their training is that they literally just burn themselves out, and they see negative results as a result of it. All right, so it looks like I have gone through all my videos I'm going to show, unless I have one more on my download section, which, yeah, I think I do. So I'll show one more here in a minute. I'll take another couple of questions. All right, so here's a question here. It says, does the PST workout phase one break down proper form and how to be more efficient? Or is it just a list of workouts to build up to the test? Is it also available on Kindle? It is not available on Kindle because these workout charts in the back do not look very good on Kindle. I've tried it, just a pain in the ass. I got to reformat it every time. But yeah, so just so you know, it's a 16-week workout. So you have 16 weeks, 2 pages is a week, right? So that's 6 days right there, right? 6 days right there. So think of that as that is the section of workouts. Okay. This is a section of getting better at all the activities and exercises. Lots of programming in here, lots of uh, technique stuff as well. Um, and also strategies too. There's a lot of strategy to take in a PST. If you don't take it enough, you won't even know where to, work on your pacing or work on your when you're gonna like go all out, right? Because it is largely a pacing drill. I mean, there's no such thing as a 45-minute sprint, and these tests, usually take about 45 minutes to do them. So you want to be as fast as you can, but you don't want to be so fast that you just burn yourself out and you can't move because you just burned out every bit of your glycogen. And there's also fueling strategies in there. So there's a whole lot to it that I often share in these videos, but it's all right there in writing as well. All right, let me show another one. Let's see. One more video, and then I'm probably going to have to wrap this up. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like have a decent kickoff. That looks nice. Good streamline. Decent double arm pull. Now that's awkward. Um, do the dolphin kick first. That's a good double arm pull there. But do the dolphin kick first, then double arm pull, because that's awkward. I mean, it worked. That's a good tight streamline recovery, but I have found a dolphin kick, then the double arm pull works really well. But I will say this is really good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Oh, you only did 25. Well, let's see what you got here. Because it looks like you did 25 yards or meters, I'm not sure, in about 23 seconds. So he's got a little breaststroke kick there, top arm, bottom arm kick. Notice how his elbow does not come out high. It doesn't need to. I'm not sure why everybody does that, but you can keep your arm down real easily. Just keep it right under you. Yeah, that's solid. I got nothing on that to fix other than just, a little bit of personal preference on when I like to do the dolphin kick right before the double arm pull. But if you go into breaststroke pullout videos with really good breaststrokers kicking off the wall, they will do that. They will throw that dolphin kick either right before or during the double arm pull, and it really just shoots them forward. And they just hold that glide like this for a little bit longer, which he did. He did really well. Oh, let's see here. So, you guys got any more questions? Because I need to get going. I got a couple things I got to do today. Secondary workouts. My group from the academy comes back today, so be fun seeing them again after a good summer break. I will say this though, if I missed your question, I apologize. But you can always email me, Stu at Stu Smith, right here. See that little scroll going by, Stu at StuSmith.com. But I want you to check out StuSmithFitness.com. Use that Live15 coupon during checkout, and you will save 15% on any books and ebooks that are available. So somebody mentioned, do they have them on Kindle? I don't have all of these on Kindle. I had a few of them on Kindle before, but if you can, you go to Stu Smith Fitness, there are two options there. There's books and ebooks. All you got to do is look at the title. The very first word will say book or ebook. And if you just read the description, usually at the very bottom of that, I'll give you a choice for the opposite, right? So if you want a link, you can, if you're reading the article that or the description for the ebook, it's going to be the same as the book, just printed. But at the bottom, it will say, if you don't want the ebook, but you want the printed version, click here. So if you just be patient, go down to the bottom, you'll see the opposite feature there. Where do I find info on you in-person training? Go to this link. I'm going to put it into the description here. Heroesoftomorrow.org is our local training program. So check that out. That's our schedule and where we meet and usually what we're doing as far as upper body, lower body type stuff. All right. So, yep, that's a good Tuesday. Keep it up. If you guys got any questions, email me. I'll be back next week for another Q&A. Check out that article I just posted up on Stu Smith Fitness. It has that assessment chart in there, as well as links to the podcast that Jeff and I did on that Hell Week success study that came out that is somehow missing now. But it's good education, I think. So check it out, see what you think, and like I said, let me know if you got anything for me, and I will try to help you out best I can. All right, till next time.